What's up, guys? Welcome to We the People, the only show that takes a look at local, state, and national politics as it pertains to the East Alabama area. My name is Corey A. Bradford. I'll be your host tonight. Thank you for joining us. So we got a lot of things to talk about, especially particularly for this local area. So I'm going to jump right into it. Uh, we've been doing this show for about 2 months now, and we are locally based in the cities of Anniston and Oxford, Alabama. And Oxford, Alabama, particularly, has never really been known for anything um, that big on a national scale before. Well, that all changed this past week. For the first time ever in recent history, Oxford, Alabama made the national headlines. And what did it make it for? Well, it made it for being the first city in the entire nation to pass a law that basically states that a person must use a bathroom that is assigned to the gender on their birth certificate. That's basically what this new city ordinance says. It kind of surprises me because Oxford, for what it's worth, for people who don't know about Alabama and don't know about this area, Oxford has always been a little bit more progressive than some of the other surrounding cities. So this is a bit unusual to hear this coming from an area like Oxford, and for them to be the first in the entire nation to individually as a city do something like this is kind of strikes me as unusual more than anything else. Just personally speaking, I think this is ridiculous. I think it's ridiculous to waste people's times and waste taxpayers' money passing laws regarding which bathroom people use. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's insane. We're seeing it in North Carolina. We're seeing it in Mississippi. We're seeing these traditionalistic, conservative states passing laws that are trying to force personal behavior, and it has nothing to do with what's right or what's good or what's best for American society. There's two big reactions that we're going to see happening here in Oxford, and they're both negative. One is this will affect business in Oxford. You think about a place like Hobby Lobby or a place like Chick-fil-A. These businesses have made their religious preferences and their political ideologies made public as a business. And the Supreme Court has said a business can do that. Since a business is a person, a business can have a religious preference and a moral preference. Okay, well that means companies like Target, companies like Old Navy, and companies like Publix and other companies also have the right to have more liberal stances on political issues. And so that means if Target wants to do something like what it did, or if these companies have the right to do that the same way the conservative companies have the right to do their thing. So if that being said, there could be a lot of liberal kind of leaning companies, tech companies for instance, people like Facebook and Apple and Google. Those are very liberal companies that could want to do something here in Oxford, Alabama, and not want to do it because of this law that they passed and because they've painted themselves as a spokesperson for bigotry. And so it's just shooting themselves in the foot with business. If you just want to be honest, if you want to just come at this from a purely capitalistic point, this is a bad move business-wise. The second bad thing is that it's going to cause the influx of outside agitators. And what I mean by that is the people who are against this law are going to come to this city to protest it. People who aren't even from here are going to come to Oxford, Alabama, and it's going to be seen as a representation of hatred and bigotry towards that community. And so we've already seen protests here in Oxford, and it's already making the national news. It's people who are not even from around here protesting what this city is doing. On the other side of the coin is we're going to be seeing people coming in who actually like that law. These white nationalists, far-right extremists, Tea Party supporters who are not from around here, who are going to come to Oxford and see it as a platform to spread their hatred and their bigotry. So all it's going to do is cause negative outside agitators from both sides of the crazy coin, and we don't need any of that here. It's going to be bad for business, and even and beyond just the whole bad for business whole thing. Beyond that, this is really just going to be a disruption in the lives of people who are just trying to live their lives in peace. This is basically what these people want to do. They're not bothering people. These people are just trying to live their lives in peace, and they can't do so because they're being pointed out and singled out by law. It's really no different from the Jim Crow laws and the things that were going on in the pre-1960s with regards to the African American race. It's very similar. I mean, it's laws that are basically targeted at one group, and that's never okay. And I think we'll see in the coming weeks just what kind of implications this has on the Anniston-Oxford area. So you know where I stand on these issues, and this is actually a good way to start this episode off because we actually talk to a woman. Her name is Jan Bunten, and she is actually a representative for Equality Calhoun, which is a group in Calhoun County here in the Anderson-Oxford area that is basically moving forward on LGBT rights in an area where it's very, very discriminatory and very hateful towards LGBT people in Alabama and in the South in general. And this group is basically trying to bring awareness to a lot of these concerns and also try to bring about actual political change that gives them laws that protects them from discrimination and from violence and from hate crimes and from things like that, and also make sure that laws like the law that was now just passed in Oxford don't get passed. It's a part of a new segment that my producer Tommy Bryant put together called Living in the Red, where every week we will take a look at a different minority group that lives in Alabama in the South and has to deal with extreme social and political discrimination and other things because of their differences from the majority group here in America, or just here in the South, period. So we have a great show for you guys. We'll be right back after these messages.
As a startup, an existing small business, or a business looking to scale up, you'll run across this problem. What does my company need out of a website? My name is Joshua Shoemaker. I am a web developer that specializes in creating fast, modern, and responsive websites that can suit all of your needs, and to fit all screen sizes to reach everyone in your audience. If you are or have considered investing into an internal or consumer-facing website or application, then contact me today at joshuashoemaker@takethisstudios.com and use the subject line We the People promo for extended free consulting.
And you see this every day. Just browsing through Facebook, Alabama's Most Wanted, Jefferson County's Most Wanted, all these ads for people who have been arrested for various crimes. And we have a good situation here I just want to talk to you guys about. My good friend Ms. Hutto, who is featured here, she's an affluent member of society. She's a good citizen. But she apparently bounced a check, and so she's on Alabama's Most Wanted. We need to make this a public discussion. Where do we draw the line between public humiliation and aiding the police force in apprehending a criminal? We go back to the very core of the Constitution and who we are as a country. And we have to go back and look at things like innocent until proven guilty. I mean, not only are we looking at defamation of character, but these people are victimized by the court, and these people, they're put in a position, and oftentimes it's very likely that some of these people aren't even guilty of the crimes that they're being accused of, but yet they're being humiliated and published on these magazines that are available at every gas station. We've all seen them. They're everywhere. Not only is this just basically wrong, it's also against the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, Article 11. Now, I'm not saying that all these police forces who are having a ball posting on social media for these people who are wanted for crimes, because it does help drive traffic. I'm not saying these should be prosecuted for breaking this article, for breaking these people's essential human rights. I'm just saying as a society we need to come together and address this. So either we as a society have to decide that we are going to allow these police forces who are now kind of acting as businesses and utilizing things like social media to drive traffic and have these publications and gas stations that they can be bought, which is going to, fund the police. The police are a good thing. I'm not saying that the police are bad, because I believe they are vital for the infrastructure of our country. However, we have to address this infraction on basic human rights. We can't just allow people to be defamed, to be humiliated, just to help the police force get a couple extra bucks from a magazine. We need to address the funding if that's what it takes, if it's really that dire of a situation, because we cannot victimize our citizens like this. And we cannot allow our police forces to act as businesses and do these terrible things that aren't just morally wrong but legally wrong just for a couple petty pennies. It's honestly not worth it. It's not worth it for either side. Well, let's continue this discussion. Go to Facebook and find We the People. There's a link here at the bottom, and give us a comment, and let's continue this and decide how we should address this and where we should go. This has been Tommy. You guys have a good one.
The thing about being gay in Alabama is you have to be careful. You have to be aware of your surroundings. Are you in a safe place? You know, can I hold her hand, or should I not? Every decision you make as a gay person in Alabama has consequences, potentially. We don't have widespread acceptance here in Alabama yet, but some of us are working on that. Not necessarily that everybody has to believe the same way or live the same way or any of that, but one of the things that people tend to assume about gay people in the South is that we're somehow from somewhere else, and we've come here just, you know, from San Francisco or Los Angeles or New York to mess up their way of life, and, you know, how dare we come in here and do this. And what people need to remember, Alabama has her own gays. Alabama's got plenty of them, born here, raised here, been here for generations, work and pay taxes. So, you know, this is not just a matter of we want to make Alabama into another New York or San Francisco. No, not at all. Those of us who live here, we love it here, and we love it for the same reasons that anybody else does. But we want to be able to live our lives in peace and not necessarily worry about losing our job. Certainly, we don't want to worry about being physically attacked, and this is still something that happens. So are we working for change? Sure, somewhat we are, but that doesn't mean people have to give up everything that they, you know, believe, or that things that make Alabama different. We don't have to give that up just to understand that there are people who are different, and we're here too, and we don't necessarily want to leave just to be who we are. I know kids through JSU and through different places around Calhoun County whose parents have said, you're no longer my son, you're no longer my daughter, you don't have a place to stay here. And that's really tough, to look at a kid and know that they're lost, they don't know what to do, they don't know where to go. You've got kids living on the streets probably tonight in Birmingham and Montgomery, and who have been turned out. We've got a couple of things in place in Calhoun County to help with that somewhat. The first one I want to talk about is PFLAG, which is Parents, Family, Friends, and Allies of Lesbians and Gays. It's a national organization. We have a chapter that meets the third Thursday of every month at Grace Episcopal here in Anniston. And most chapters are more family members, not necessarily the actual gays and lesbians and transgender. Down here in the South, it tends to be a support group for all kinds of gay people and our friends and allies and families. The purpose of the organization is support and education. I think the founders of it probably envisioned parents whose son comes out to them at 18 and they don't know what to do, and they're scared, and they're thinking of AIDS and hate crimes and all the worst, you know, no grandchildren, and who knows what they're thinking of, what kind of life their son is going to have. And part of the reason that we exist at PFLAG is to say, it's fine. You know, I know this is not what you had planned for your son or daughter, but you look around the room and you see happy, well-adjusted, employed, healthy people who happen to be gay. Equality Calhoun is another group that we started. It's mainly kind of Facebook based. We started it in 2015 when the state federal court ruled that Alabama's ban on same-sex marriage was unconstitutional. That took us all by surprise. Even those of us who consider ourselves, you know, on the front lines of gay rights, we were all, what? We didn't even know they were looking at this. So we kind of just got a few of us together and said, you know, I hate to think about lesbian or gay couples showing up at the courthouse that next Monday morning to a bunch of protesters. You know, we didn't know what to expect, but we knew the decision was not going to be real popular around here. So we got what we thought was going to be about 10 or 12 people just to go down to the courthouse and have some signs that said congratulations, and it just be at least a counterpoint if there was a problem. At least to know that some people think this is a good thing and we're with you. Of course, that ended up being a mess because Roy Moore issued his order saying that they shouldn't issue, and it was back and forth for a while, but that's what that group grew out of. We were not out to become anything other than just an event which was just to support people getting marriage licenses. And the response was overwhelming, and we've got over 300 members now. So we changed it from the event to marriage equality to now it's just Equality Calhoun, because the Supreme Court has ruled on same-sex marriage. That should be a done deal, although we still have some places that are holding out. But that'll come around soon enough. Now we have other things that we're looking at, like workplace equality, housing. There are some other issues where right now in Alabama you can be fired for being gay, and your employer doesn't have to make up some other reason. He can look you right in the eye and say you're fired because you're gay. And I know people that's happened to. So we have some more things we need to work on, and we're doing that. And it's also a social group that just supports, and we work closely with PFLAG. When we have an event, it's basically both groups together. One of the things I hear a lot is that we don't hate gay people, we just don't approve of your lifestyle. And I have to kind of laugh because, I can't speak for every gay person, but I think there's this idea that gay people are out having sex and they're out at the clubs every night, and the people I know, they're in bed at 9:30 because they have to go to work in the morning. The people who are in relationships are in monogamous, healthy, committed, long-term relationships. I don't date personally. I haven't dated in years. So my lifestyle, I go to the grocery store, I pick up my daughter from school, I feed the birds on my back porch. I'm not sure what part of my lifestyle that people are so upset about. Just because I identify as lesbian, it doesn't really change anything about me. I think I'm a good neighbor, a good citizen. So that's kind of funny. I'm sure there are places where people are more active maybe than the people I know, but the gay lifestyle, it's not even really a thing. I'm Jan Bunten, and I run the Equality Calhoun Facebook group. We are involved in gay rights in the area. Whenever there's a bill at the state level that affects gay rights, we try to get a group from the Calhoun area to drive down to Montgomery and at least sit in the State House and let them see our faces and let them know that we pay taxes and we're paying attention to. But the group has all kinds of contacts for people and information, and it's a good way, not just for gay people, but allies, anybody who's interested in helping out. It's a good contact place, and it's a great way to meet folks in our area.
I want to thank you all for watching this week's episode of We the People. I want to thank Jan Bunten for doing her interview on our show, and that was a great interview, and I'm hoping that gave you all some insight on the LGBT community and the problems that they have to face, specifically living here in Alabama. And that was a great segment. I want to thank my producer, Tommy Lee Bryant, who actually put that segment together. And I want to thank him for his other segment you saw tonight, To the Table. Wonderful work by him. I want to thank everybody who helped us on the show this week. Tune in for us. We're not going to be on a weekly basis. At this point, we're at a bi-weekly basis. So tune in to us 2 weeks from now here on YouTube, and we will have more content for you. In the meantime, I want to thank everybody who helped on the show. Thank you all for watching. Have a good week.